This is a 3D objects video that is being created for Mr. Grant's class, AET 4813, Advanced Digital Media at Eastern Illinois University. The XYZ axis in relation to 3D space will be defined. The difference between moving the view versus moving the 3D object will then be discussed, and each tool will be demonstrated. The discussion and demonstration will end with an explanation of the coordinates and how to reset the coordinates and move to ground. In discussing 3D space, a basic understanding of 2D space is necessary. In 2D space, there is an X and a Y axis. The X axis is representative of the width, and the Y axis is representative of the height. With a 3D space, the third dimension is added, which is the Z axis, which is indicative of the depth of the object. Once you have Photoshop opened up, the first thing you want to be sure to do is change the workspace to 3D if it isn't already. That can be done over here. This will give you access to the tools that you will need when working with 3D objects. Next, I will show you how to create a 3D object. Under File, click on New, name your object, change your preset to Web, and click OK. In the 3D panel on the right portion of the window, click on Mesh from Preset. And then you can choose your object. I will choose a ring for this purpose. And then click Create. And this will create your 3D object. For the purposes of this video, I will use a pre-created 3D pyramid object. Now I would like to show you how you can move the view of the 3D object. Please note that this does not move the object. The tools to move the view or the camera are located here. The first tool is the Rotate or Orbit the 3D object. Once you click on this tool, you will get a little orbit-like icon. Please be sure not to click on the object or you will inadvertently move the object. Clicking outside of the object space, you can rotate or orbit around the object. The blue line is indicative of the X-axis. The red line, the Z-axis, and the green line, the Y-axis. The next camera or view tool is Roll the 3D camera. This tool basically rolls the camera around the object. The next tool is Pan the 3D camera tool, and this tool basically changes the view by panning the 3D view. For the Slide tool, it's equivalent to zooming in on an object as if you are walking closer or away from the object. The last 3D view tool is the Zoom the 3D camera tool. This tool is very similar to the Slide tool, but is used more for focusing in on something. Remember, the view or camera tools are not moving the object. They are simply moving your view as if you are walking around, towards, or away from a 3D object. In the event you want to move the 3D object about the X, Y, and or Z axes, you will need to use a different set of tools. To activate these tools, you have to click on the object. You want to be sure that you have the entire object selected when you do this. The set of tools that you have to move the object are the moving, rotating, and scaling around the axis. In addition, you can scale the object uniformly. Each one of these axes have these tools available. The last thing I would like to discuss are the coordinates of the 3D object. To get to the coordinates, they are located here under the Properties panel. The first set of coordinates are the position coordinates for all three of the axes. The next set are the degrees of rotation for all three axes, and the last set are the scaling dimensions, again for all three axes. There is a button to reset coordinates. The resets coordinates for all three of the dimensions, and also there are buttons to reset position to 0 for each one of the options. Once you're done manipulating your 3D object, you want to be sure to move to ground. This can be found in the coordinates section of the 3D tools. This will move the object to the ground plane. As you can see, if I click on move to ground, it took the object and moved it to the ground plane. Well, this concludes the video on 3D objects.